All right, here we go with the Bet99 $800 risk-free bet offer. So this is actually an affiliate offer. The standard welcome bonus with Bet99 is risk-free bet up to $500, which you can find right here. But as long as this offer is still good to go, we of course recommend going for the $800 risk-free bet. So we're just going to walk through each part of the offer. We're going to do an example walkthrough and then give you some suggestions as to how to make even more than the $400 minimum profit from this offer. So here we go. Bet99 are offering a risk-free bet up to $800. It's an affiliate offer. If you go through the link to the offer, you will see Bet99 here. Hit play now, and then you'll be brought through to this enhanced risk-free bet up to $800. So place a bet up to $800. If it loses, they refund as 4 bets of 25% of your stake amount. So if you lose your $800 bet, they will add 4 bets of $200, okay? And those will be free bets. So it's a standard risk-free bet offer, which are very popular these days. So that is the offer. So first step is to open a Bet99 account and deposit. If that offer is still there, great, go ahead with the $800. If not, you want to go ahead with just $500 as standard. So you can sign up through the link here, and we're good to go ahead with our qualifying bet. Okay, so just a reminder, they will give you a refund up to $800 as a free bet if your first bet loses. You have to place your first bet within 30 days. So as always, our Dutch Matcher is preloaded with the appropriate filters. If you click through to the Dutch Matcher, it will put you into risk-free bet mode. And as you can see here, there is some pretty good ratings. I'm just going to be using Pinnacle, for example, as my hedge sportsbook. So we've got this really high risk-free bet rating. Anything above 50% is pretty good. So this is a really good one. So let's double check the odds and let's go ahead. So here we go. We're in risk-free bet mode. We've set our bet amount to $800. And let's go and check these odds then. So there we go. Bears minus 3.5 is indeed 3.15. Okay, so you just go ahead like that. You put in $800. And you have to remember to tick the first bet encore offer in order to apply that offer to this first bet, okay? There's a note about that in the guide, okay? So make sure you just select that. And now let's double check the odds on Pinnacle. Packers, and we're looking for Packers plus 3.5, so it'll be under handicap. Packers plus 3.5 is 1.546. 1.546 is correct. So this is a great pair. Just as a side note while we're doing this 70% refers to how much you can expect to draw out of your free bet refund, okay? So it's essentially, we know that we can get about 70% from a free bet. So if we get a $100 free bet, we can convert that into $70, okay? But actually, as we're going to talk about later, if you use the Parlay Matcher, you can even get free bet ratings up to 90%. So if you were going to use the Parlay Matcher for the free bet and therefore get a much higher return from that free bet, you could actually set that retention to 90%, and now suddenly you're going to make 555 instead of your 452. Okay, so that is essentially how much you expect to make from your free bet. All right, but anyway, let's say that we're just using the Dutch Matcher for now and not the Parlay Matcher. You go ahead, place $800 on the Bears minus 3.5, and then you'd hedge on Pinnacle, placing 1,276.79, 1,276.79 on the Packers plus 3.5. So you just place those bets and then you can log your bet as usual. And just to kind of explain what's going on here, if the Bet99 bet wins, then you're up an instant $452 because you'll win $17.20 in Bet99 and only lose $12.67 on Pinnacle. However, if the Bet99 bet loses and therefore the Pinnacle bet wins, then you'll be down the $800 on Bet99. You'll be up around $700 on Pinnacle, right? So you'll be down $100 at this stage. But then you've got this $800 free bet to come, which we expect to convert into $560 profit because we know that we can reliably convert free bets into 70% of their value, okay? So the way we work this out is either way, we make these profits the same, okay? So no matter if bet 1 wins or if bet 2 wins, you're going to be up the same amount regardless. So that's how to place your first risk-free bet. Let's say that your first bet loses, and then we move on to the free bet stage, okay? So if your first bet wins, you don't need to worry about any of this. It's only if it loses that you will be credited with an $800 free bet, credited as 4 times $200 free bets, okay? Then you click the link to the Dutch Matcher as usual. Okay, so let's now say that we are placing our free bet, and we're going to take this pair for our free bet. So you got a 73% free bet rating, which is pretty damn good. So let's go ahead with that. We're in free bet mode and we're putting bet amount to 200 here. So let's say that we're placing the first of our 4 $200 bets And let's just double check the odds. Jaguars minus 3.5. Jaguars minus 3.5 is indeed 3.1. If you're using American, that would be plus 210. And let's check the Bills plus 3.5 over here. Bills plus 3.5, 1.537. 1.537. So then you just go ahead, very simply, your $200 free bet on there, you would select your $200 free bet, and then you'd hedge it over here, putting in this stake amount there. Okay, you'd place both bets, and then you would log that bet as normal. So you repeat that process for the 3 remaining free bets. You're going to convert around 70% of those free bets as guaranteed profit, and therefore you should end up with around $400 profit overall from that offer if you're getting around 70% free bet retention. Now I'm going to talk about another strategy, which is using our Parlay Matcher, which allows you to juice way more value from this offer. Let's move over to the Parlay Matcher and go through how to do it this way. Let's say that we're doing this offer from the start. So instead of this qualifying bet being placed using the Dutch Matcher, we're now going to find a risk-free bet using the Parlay Matcher. All right. So let's put in Bet99 and Pinnacle. And you can see straight away that instead of getting these 50% free bet ratings that we had on the Dutch Matcher, so 53%, we can actually get a 67% free bet rating on the Parlay Matcher, which is crazy. It's much, much better. And not only that, because using the Parlay Matcher, we can actually convert 92% of our free bet into guaranteed profit, right? So if we plug in this 92% instead of the 70% into the risk-free bet mode, you can actually see that we're going to make a huge amount from this offer. Okay, so let's say that our free bet retention is now 92%. Well, then you can see that we're making $85 per $100 of risk-free bet. So in the example of Bet99, an $800 risk-free bet would yield $686 profit instead of $400. So you're getting an extra $286 here compared to the standard Dutch Matcher. All right. So let's just walk down the road of if we were to do this whole thing using the Parlay Matcher. So we're in risk-free bet mode. We would open this calculator. We would set that free bet retention to, let's just say 90 for now, okay? Because we know that we can get 90% retention using the Parlay Matcher in free bet mode. So we would save that parlay. Let's call it Bet99 risk-free bet parlay. And we've pulled up the parlay in the parlay hedge calculator, okay? So very simply, you would go ahead with your $800. So put the parlay stake to $800, and you would go ahead on Bet99 and place this parlay, which is a 2-legged parlay. It's going to be the Bears against the Packers, and you're going on the Bears minus 1.5, and you're also going on the Jaguars game, and you're going on Jaguars minus 3.5. Okay, so you're placing this 2-way parlay. Now, we deliberately make these legs non-overlapping, and the reason for that is the only way that you can hedge a parlay is if you hedge each leg sequentially. So you have to hedge the first leg and then hedge the second leg. So what we would do, we would place this parlay on Bet99, 2.25 and 3.1, so the total parlay odds are 6.98. And then the next thing that you would do is you would hedge the first leg, and this is telling you to put $952.83 on the Packers plus 1.5 on Pinnacle. Okay, so let's say that you've now placed your parlay. You've placed this risk-free bet, right, this $800 risk-free bet on the parlay, on this 2-legged parlay, and now you're hedging the first leg. Okay, so you've hedged $952.83. I'm not going to go through the example of checking the odds just to keep this simple, but that's what you would do. You would hedge $952.83 on that first hedge bet, all right? And then you just wait for that game to play out. Here's the event time. That's whenever the event is going to happen. 3 hours after that, you can check if the bet wins or loses on Bet99. If it loses on Bet99, then that parlay is done. You will have lost in Bet99, you will have won in Pinnacle, and you've got this $800 free bet refund to get, which you can convert into $720, giving you a total of $672. If it wins, however, now you need to hedge the second leg. So you need to hedge this second leg on Pinnacle, and it's asking you to place $3,158 at odds of 1.54 on this Bills plus 3.5. So let's say that you hedge 3158.44. Okay, that's great. Let's say that that bet wins. Well, if it wins, then you're actually up straight away. So you're up $670 straight away, because this calculator is set up so that no matter if you win the bet on Bet99 or if you lose and then get the refund, you're going to be up the same amount regardless. So in that scenario, you'd be up 4.7k on Bet99, you'd be down 4.1 on Pinnacle, therefore you'd be up $672 overall. Let's now say that you lost that second leg. So if that scenario happened, you'd be down $800 in Bet99, you'd be up $752 on Pinnacle, so you'd be down around $50 at this stage. However, you've got that $800 free bet to come, which we can convert into 90% of that free bet amount, which is $720, giving you again $672. So that is all the scenarios for the risk-free bet. If at any stage that bet loses, then of course you're going to get your free bet refund. And now we're going to move on to as if we were placing that free bet refund. So let's say that we've lost the risk-free bet on Bet99. They've applied the $800 free bet to your account, and you're going to go ahead and place this free bet. All right. So now you go Bet99 and Pinnacle. By the way, we've got some filters here to make your life a little easier. If you want a bit more buffer space between those legs, because as I was saying, you want to hedge each leg sequentially. These cannot be overlapping. You might want to go slightly longer on this min leg gap just to keep the games spread out between themselves. But for me, I'm just going to keep that at 3 hours. That's kind of like enough for the game to finish and the result to be settled. So this one is coming in pretty much bang on what we anticipated, where you can get 90% free bet rating. So we would go ahead onto this one here, and we would maybe place the first of our $200 free bets, or you could just place the whole $800 on that one thing. Let's just say we're doing $200 free bet, and you would save that parlay. So this is like Bet99 free bet 1, save the parlay, and let's go and open it up. So here we have the free bet. So this is the $200 free bet on Bet99. And we just go through it just as we did before. We would place this two-way parlay. So we would place our $200 free bet on this two-way parlay, which is this game here. And here's the selection, Longwood money line. And then you got the Packers Bears, Packers minus 3.5. So you've placed that two-way parlay on Bet99, and now you're going to hedge the first leg. Okay, so you're going to hedge the first leg on Pinnacle. So you place the two-way parlay, and now you're going to go $280, 34 on this North Carolina Asheville at 1.64. And just like before, we're going to run through every single possible scenario. If it loses, then you're done straight away. You've made $179 from that $200 free bet. However, if it wins, then you very simply just hedge the next leg. Okay, and whether that wins or loses, you're going to be up $179 regardless. And then you just repeat that for the other 3 $200 free bets. Now, one potential pitfall of this is that if you've, for example, hedged your first leg, it wins on Bet99, and then these odds get worse, you can see that your profit is going to deteriorate here. So your profit's going to be worse than you expected. But likewise, if the odds get better, then of course your profit's going to be even more than you expected. So then it's asking you to hedge 734, 13, and then you would make $211.53 no matter what happens. So that is a very basic strategy using the Dutch Matcher, and then a more advanced strategy using the Parlay Matcher. We would obviously recommend that you use the Parlay Matcher if you're comfortable and you understand the steps, but it's very simple. You're using the Parlay Matcher, you're putting in risk-free bet mode, you're putting in the calculator, you're saying, hold on a second, I can make more than 70% from my free bet retention. I can actually make 90%. You're putting that stake to $800, and then you're saving that parlay, okay? And going through each step. Hedge the first leg, and then hedge the second leg. And if there are 3 legs, then of course you then need to hedge the third leg, okay? So you just do it exactly the same. You're hedging each leg at a time. Hope that all makes sense. As always, let us know if it doesn't on the contact page, and best of luck.